The experimental medium tank Kai-Ni was an experimental prototype Japanese medium tank, initially proposed as a low-cost alternative to the Type 97 Kai-Ha medium tank. It was eventually passed over by its competitor. History and development. In 1935, news had reached Japan of the United Kingdom's development of an advanced new tank, the A6 medium tank, a multi-turreted design that mounted a 47mm tank gun and was capable of reaching speeds of 50 km/h. In comparison, Japan's tank force had not undergone any significant changes in tactics or organization in 6 years. The country's most widely fielded medium tank, the Type 89 Igo, while popular with troops and tankers, had begun to show its age. Attempts to update the design with the Type 89B Igo Otsu were made in 1934, but no fundamentally new design had been undertaken since. Until this point it was felt that there was no need for a new medium tank design. In comparison of the two tanks, the A6 was seen as having superior offensive and defense capabilities than its closest Japanese equivalent, which had begun looking obsolete to its British counterpart. The appearance of Britain's new tank design, along with reports from Manchuria of the Type 89 Igo's inability to keep up with other motorized vehicles with its paltry 25 km/h top speed, brought about plans for a replacement. Tank designers recommended research on a new tank design, a medium tank capable of going 35 km/h and weighing 15 tons with offensive and defensive abilities greater than the Type 89 Igo. The Chief of Staff Operations was not enthusiastic for the project as it was peacetime and the military had a limited budget to spend. The Army thus issued peacetime requirements for a new tank design, rather than focusing on performance improvements. The Chief of Staff Operations made only a light-to-weight the sole requirement in order to lower production costs. The finalized requirements were for a lightweight tank that was also capable of going 35 km/h. These requirements also led to the development of the Type 95 Hago light tank. The engineering department believed that it was highly regrettable that their efforts would be devoted solely to weight reduction, so instead, two concurrent projects were built. The first plan was for a lower-weight, low-cost medium tank that was to be made by the Osaka Army Arsenal, which would become the Kai-Ni. The second plan was contracted to Mitsubishi Heavy Industries for a high-performance medium tank design which would become the Kai-Ha design. The initial design requirements for the two prototypes were: the Kai-Ni was therefore envisioned as a smaller, lighter alternative to the Kai-Ha, a medium tank closer to the original Chief of Staff Operations preference for more lightly armored infantry support vehicles. The hull was of a monocoque design and welding was used more extensively than previous tanks. This was unlike previous Japanese tanks which were riveted around a framework. The Kai-Ni also shared the same bell crank suspension as the Kai-Ha that would continue to be used by later Japanese tanks until the end of the Second World War. The hull was designed with a streamlined silhouette to protect from shell damage. A crew of the Kai-Ni, unlike the Kai-Ha, was only made up of 3 men, with the tank commander acting as both a gunner and loader in the small, single-man turret. The turret did not have room for any coaxial machine gun. The driver was seated in the hull on the left-hand side, with the third crew member, a machine gunner, was seated to right of the driver. The tank was initially planned to be armed with the Type 89 Igo's Type 90 57mm gun, but a new tank gun was being designed at the time to replace the lower velocity gun. This improved tank gun was the Type 97 57mm tank gun. A single, forward-firing, 7.7 times 58mm Arasaka Type 97 machine gun was mounted in the hull. The diameter of the turret ring for both tanks was made as large as possible to allow for any future upgunning of the tanks. The tank was powered by a 135 horsepower diesel engine made by Mitsubishi. There are also documents stating that the Kaini was tested with a 120 horsepower Mitsubishi A6120 VDE air-cooled diesel engine from a Type 95 Hargo. The Kaini was also equipped with a tadpole tail, a tail extension attached to the back of the tank to allow it to better cross-trench. Both prototypes were completed and tested in early 1937. Production. During the time the Kaini and Kai-Ha trials, the China incident occurred on the 7th of July 1937, sparking a war with China. With the outbreak of hostilities, the peacetime budgetary limitations were removed and the more capable and expensive Mitsubishi Kai-Ha model was accepted as the new Type 97 medium tank by the Army. The Type 97 Kai-Ha would go on to be the most numerically important Japanese medium tank of the Second World War. Only a single Kaini prototype was built. Even though the Kaini was passed over in favor of the Kai-Ha, several individuals in the Japanese military, such as Japanese Army tank designer Lieutenant General Tomio Hara, believed that there was still potential in the design and the tank could be reused in the future as a light tank.